Hi, everybody. It's at Skating PJ Kwong here with another edition of Blade This. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's so much fun to have you along every single week as we follow the journey of Battle of the Blades. I could not do this show alone without my trusty co-host and good friend, Charlene Bailey. Charlene, whoops, I wanted to go side by side.
Hello.
It's so good to see you. I want everybody to see your genius. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Charlene is an outstanding dress designer and skating person and everything else.
Thank you. You are too flattering.
And you know what? Any of the kooky graphics that we've had the last few weeks, that's been Charlene's work, not mine. I can tell you, I'm good with the words, not so good with the images. Okay, we're going to get right into this. What did we decide this week was going to be?
Dun, 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 dun. I don't know if we're allowed to do that, but we are now. Talking night on Blade This.
Yes, Hockey Week indeed. So we are delighted. I want to thank my pals at the Peterborough Petes because they were able to persuade their goalie, Hunter Jones, to come and talk to us. Hunter!
What's going on?
So nice to have you here. Okay, so here's what I know about Hunter. First of all, let me show them the amazing graphic. Peterborough Petes, we love you. That's Hunter. He's the goalie for the Peterborough Petes, and that's him looking very serious. Here's what I know about goalies. You guys have the most expensive helmets, and you can decorate them, which I really like because I'm all about the decoration. The other thing I want to say, Hunter, is I was doing research. Shelby Kilcollins from the Peterborough Petes sent me some information, and I read this sentence. I read that you were the goalie for the Peterborough Petes, and I read that you were a Minnesota Wild prospect. And I thought to myself, what is a wild prospect? What is a Minnesota Ten prospect? And I kept thinking to myself, that is the strangest thing I know. I'm a big loser. But what that means, it's just bananas, I know. Tell everybody out here what that means.
Yeah, so last summer, it seems like forever ago with this pandemic going on, but last June in 2019, I was selected in the second round by the Minnesota Wild, and it was a pretty hectic day. And since then, I played another season with the Peterborough Petes, and then obviously our season got shut down in March, and then shortly after that, I signed my first NHL contract with them. So now I'm officially moving on to play some pro hockey, hopefully in the next couple months here when things start opening up again. But yeah, just patiently waiting.
What a thrill! I honestly, I can't even imagine what it must have been like in your house to have that, the ink drying on that deal. That must have been so exciting. I mean, tell me about when you were a little kid playing hockey. Where did you start? And did you always dream about being in the NHL? I mean, Charlene and I were talking to a figure skater a couple of weeks ago who is a champion, Trent Michaud, who desperately wanted to be a hockey player, dreamed of being in the NHL until he got kicked out of Timbits hockey. So, and then moved over to figure skating. But I'm assuming that did not happen to you. So when did these dreams really start to take shape?
Yeah, well, I started out playing hockey when I was probably around 9 or 10 years old. I was a defenseman, and then I kind of progressed from there. My dad was a goalie when he played hockey growing up. So I kind of always wanted to be like that in a way, like wanted to play goal. So I switched to goal, like goalie probably around the age of 10 or 11. And yeah, I just didn't really look back from there. I mean, moving forward through hockey, I was kind of never on like a really good team. I was always on like an average team or, bottom of the standings kind of team. And I wasn't really against that because I was getting a lot of shots in minor hockey. So I was able to develop my game as much as I could. But I mean, as I got older and I got to around 14 or 15 years old, I started to realize that, maybe I could actually, do something with this sport and maybe go and be a professional. And I always wanted to just overall play in the OHL. I thought like that was a big thing for me. I really wanted to play in the OHL. I always looked up to playing in the OHL and going to the games when I was a younger kid. I always, loved going down to the glass and seeing all the players skate around. And I was like, man, I just want to be out there and play with those guys. And then, it comes full circle when you get to be on the ice and you see those little kids come down to the glass and you throw them a puck over the glass and they smile. It's the little things in hockey like that. But yeah, I think after I got to the OHL, I really just focused on, keep crafting myself and tried to make myself into a pro.
You know what? I've got this great comment that I looked up about you when I was doing a little bit of research, and that is it's about you. He is generally technically sound, rarely dropping too early into his butterfly, using his large frame to play deeper in his crease. The butterfly, I'm assuming, is that sort of knee, that knee
Mhm.
maneuver that you guys do in goal. Is that right?
Yes, it's when you drop down to your knees.
So apparently, you've got great timing, and are goalies typically tall? It says that you're 6'4".
Yeah, so I'm that was probably taken a couple years ago. I think I'm probably closer to 6'5" now, but yeah, goalies are usually generally tall. I mean, I know NHL teams, they generally look for guys that are over 6'2". I mean, some teams are pretty picky on that. So I mean, overall, there's a lot of short goalies that play in the NHL. I mean, I'd start naming something up. I named some off, but I don't know if you know many of them off by name. But yeah, I think it's just
Try
a
me,
kind
try me. I've been
of.
researching all 20 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, there's a good example is UC Saros and the Nashville Predators. He's like probably around 5'9", 5'10", and he's a very good goalie. He's very technically sound. I mean, and like he moves very well. And I think, for the smaller guys, they kind of have to be, that much more patient with their development, I think, because, they just don't have the advantage of being, like, yeah, that God-given size, right? So it's a
Yep.
little bit of an advantage for me to kind of have a little bit of both traits, having my size and as well as me being an athlete as well, and having that athletic side to me. It's just I don't want to say the full package and pump my tires, but I mean it's definitely it's a good thing to have.
Pump
Well, you
away.
know what? Every sport, I remember I was helping somebody who was working for the Raptors as a sort of an in-venue host, and she and I had to walk around backstage. And honestly, I felt like I was maybe a 6-year-old in front of adults because these men were just so tall.
They
Like,
are tall.
oh my goodness, I had no idea. I mean, you look at them and everything, and they're tall, but it's like I and Charlene probably feels the same way. We feel completely human sized because in
I
figure
would be
skating,
short in the NBA. I would be a short pro basketball player at 6'5".
we wouldn't even register. So, you know what I mean? Because for figure skating, though, Charlene and I are probably the right height. And so I've always felt like I'm a completely normal sized person at 5'0". Until I get out there in the real world. And then I realize I'm pretty darn short. Do you know what? I want to mention the Peterborough Pete's because those guys are fantastic. And every Thursday night, I don't know if you're part of this or if you've been checking it out. It's Thursday Night Live. This is the poster that I pulled off the internet from this week on their Facebook page at 6 p.m. You go watch a show that they put on. And honestly, it is so much fun. Not only do they have like this great amount of content, they also have free game worn jersey that you can win by pre-registering for Thursday Night Live. And the Pete's game night host is Courtney Bell, and she always hosts sort of a great Q&A with special celebrity guests. And the Pete's want to make sure that all of the fans have sort of an experience that's similar to going to the game. I think it's just a genius idea. So 6 p.m. on Thursdays, go to the Pete's Facebook page. 10 p.m., come to the Kwong's Facebook page. I'm
Yep.
just saying it's a full night of on the ice with the Charlene and the PJ. So what was your first big break? What did that feel like? Like you go from being sort of a little kid and then somebody says, we want him. What was that like?
I think it was probably like in my minor midget season when it was my OHL draft year. So like I said before,
How old are you? How old are you at that time?
I was 15 years old.
Wow.
So that's usually the time that you get drafted to OHL. You're 15 turning 16. The OHL age group is from 16 to 20. So I was 15 years old and I was kind of going through the whole draft process and talking to OHL teams, and I wasn't really necessarily on the greatest team at the time. That season we were the second worst team in Ontario. We had won like 2 games all year. So it was very tough for me to, for me, I think it was more mindset than anything rather than, how I was playing. And I think what you're trying to speak on is like my big break. It was probably my first meeting with an OHL team, and it was with the Guelph Storm. And they pulled me down to the general manager's office. They invited me down to a game. I got to sit in the press box. It was great. Like an atmosphere was great. I got to kind of experience the full OHL lifestyle, and they pulled me down to the GM's office, and they read off a scouting report from a game they had saw that season and a couple others, and I thought I was about to get like ringed out on, in this office meeting, and they said nothing but good things, and I was like super in shock, and that kind of just opened up my eyes for me, I think, and from that point on, that was around like just before Christmas, and after that, I had a way better mindset going into games, and I had an incredible finish to my year, and then the OHL draft came around, and Peterborough ended up scooping me up in the 5th round, and played there for 3 seasons.
Wow, that's amazing. And you just turned 20 in September, is that right?
That is correct.
Wow. So it's been a fast 5 years.
It has.
Wow. So one of the things that I want to ask you about, we are very excited to have Jennifer Bottarell, 3-time Olympic champion and Olympic silver medalist, who's going to check in with us a little bit later. Spoiler alert, everybody, because she talks a little bit about tonight's show. So if you haven't seen it, you may want to get your coffee at that time. Maybe not because it's too late. Yeah. Charlene's seen the show, though, so it's okay. Decaf, that's right. But I ask all of the skaters, and I wrote for Battle of the Blades, as a freelancer for 3 seasons. I always ask the hockey players the same thing. I can't imagine getting on hockey skates, honestly, and getting up to scratch enough to be able to play a game of any sort. I've been on figure skates my whole life. You say you were on figure skates, but can you imagine competing in Battle of the Blades? Tell me what you think that might be like.
I think I would just need probably a good amount of time on the skates to get used to them.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me was just like understanding that you don't have as much blade as you think near the end of your skate, because you might toe pick into the ice.
Yes,
so
for
I think
sure.
for me, I don't do much north-south skating being in the net, so I'm more east-west anyway, and I know my edges. So I think I would actually be okay, but I definitely would need a lot of practice, because they do get up to some pretty high speeds doing those tricks, and I'm not the greatest doing it. When we go for the public skates, the guys try to put on their best impression, and I'm not up there for the best. So
now, what about speed skates? Ever tried them?
I've never tried speed skating, but I did beat 2 or 3 of my teammates in like the 40-meter like dash on the ice with all my goalie gear on. So that was kind of embarrassing for them. So
super embarrassing.
Air them out here. This is your moment.
That's exactly.
I don't want to embarrass them.
Or if they're watching, maybe don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever happens in the dressing room probably stays in the dressing room. I'm just saying, if you were to out them, But funny story, going back to the 1960s, Peterborough Petes shared the rink with the Peterborough Figure Skating Club. And oh no, the coach has just gone out of my head. Anyway, always friendly rivalry for 100 years. Me coming into a rink, there's going out of the rink. Hockey teams are coming in. You always get to talk to the dads and the coaches. But this was a skate off that happened between the coach at the time. I will get the name by the time we finish this, and the I think the coach of the Petes as well, and they had a skate off. Figure skaters are notoriously fast, and that's what happened was that the figure skater actually beat the hockey player. A little bit of Peterborough Petes history, going back probably about 50 years to the 1960s. I know, look it up, right? So I don't know if you know this. Megan Duhamel, who is a 2-time world champion and a 3-time Olympic medalist, is a figure skater. And she is partnered with Wojtek. I have to get all my notes out, which I don't have right now. But anyway, last week she broke her nose because they did a twist, which means he tossed her in the air and then she landed on his shoulder and she sort of broke his nose. Ooh. We're going to check in with her to find out sort of how she's doing, and just to sort of see if she is recovered. And it's not for the faint of heart. Let's just put it that way. So let's take a quick look at Megan Duhamel. Hi, everybody. PJ Kwong, and I am so excited today to welcome one of my very favorite skating people. This is a woman who has won 2 world titles. She has won the trifecta of Olympic medals, including team gold, team silver, and bronze with her partner, Eric Radford. I am talking about the amazing Megan Duhamel. Megan, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, PJ. Thanks for having me.
Do you know one of the last times that you and I saw each other was before Zoe was born? We were at Battle of the Blades backstage, and there you were. It was literally days away, and now it's a year later. This year has been extraordinary. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, you're right. That's crazy that that was a year ago. I was really a very pregnant judge on Battle of the Blades.
Yes, you were.
Being a judge was so stressful. Like I would much rather be on the ice skating. It was so stressful to figure, like, first of all, to create my little like judging system and stuff, and also to have to be the judge that sends somebody home and eliminates a great team. So I understand the stress and the pressure that the judges are under, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoy skating. The last year has been really crazy. After Battle of the Blades, after my judging appearance on Battle of the Blades, I had a baby. Got back into coaching quickly after having the baby. COVID hit us all. Eric and I were supposed to go on tour. We didn't end up going on tour. So it was a little bit of an adjusted schedule. We had to adapt a lot. And I'm really happy to be back with Battle of the Blades this year as a skater.
Do you know, we're thrilled to have you. I was going to ask you my last question last, but I'm now going to ask it first. Tell me about your charity, because I know that it's very meaningful to you. And I know that being able to skate for charity is one of the most wonderful things about Battle of the Blades.
Yes, it is. And my charity that I've chosen to skate for is the Sandra Schmuler Foundation. Sandra was an Olympic champion curler, and she has passed away now, but there's a charity that's set up in her name, and they give grants to NICUs across the country, so neonatal intensive care units across the country. They give grants to them to help with technology, to help with equipment, and in my case, actually, they also help with sponsoring family rooms at hospitals. When I had Zoe, she was born a little bit early and she was extremely small. She was only 4 pounds. So we had to stay in the hospital for a couple of weeks. And I was put in a family room that was sponsored by the Sandra Schmuler Foundation. And I just thought that was a really cool thing. That's how I discovered her foundation. Their motto is champions start small. And I just thought it was so fitting to be able to skate for this amazing charity now with my time on Battle of Blades.
I got to tell you, broken nose. Okay, I got to ask the question. How are you feeling? And have you hurt yourself like that with the nose before? I know you broke Eric's nose, but has yours been broken before?
It's been broken, but not from skating. So
okay.
When I was a kid, I was playing like paddle ball at school with like a big wooden paddle, and I got hit in the face with the paddle. I was standing behind my friend and she swung. So I did have a broken nose before. It was reset, but it was not reset properly. So I've had a crooked nose since I was like 11 years old. So to me, I don't really see that much difference in my nose. But Wojtek and I have been trying to teach him a double twist. Trying to teach him a double twist and myself trying to relearn a double twist, because I've done one double twist since the Olympics, which was like 2 years ago. So I'm relearning it as well with him. And we had just a little bit of a mistimed double twist in practice. And I landed on his shoulder, but kind of like my upper lip. And then it hit underneath my nose. And it was really painful, but I was like, okay, my nose isn't bleeding. All those teeth are there. And I was like, okay, well, I'm fine. So we did another twist. We continued our training day. And after that, I had kind of looked and I saw that my nose was a little bit swollen and a little bit more off to the side than it normally is. So I saw the sports med doctor and they confirmed, and I'm just waiting to hear back about getting it reset. Apparently it's really hard to get into these surgeons to get your nose fixed. So I guess I'm on a long waiting list.
Well, you are until probably the end of COVID, but you never know. And you know what, Megan, wherever your nose is on your face, it's still adorable. I've always said that. So that's no different. Last question is about what is it like to actually learn how to skate pairs, which is a high risk proposition with somebody who's on hockey skates like Wojtek?
Well, he's
on figure skates now, but
comfortable in hockey skates, new to figure skates.
Yes, exactly.
It's been very interesting. It's been so much fun, adjusting and learning, and I'm learning as I go, and I'm learning new things as well from our choreographer and our coach. But overall, it's been a lot of fun. It's been quite the journey. Every single week, we have such a short turnaround to learn choreography and learn new tricks. And so I'm used to learning choreography, skating to music, and I find the turnaround overwhelming to me. So I can't imagine how overwhelming and stressful it feels to the hockey players. that, skating to music and having choreography is like foreign to them. But Wojtek picks up things really well. Sometimes he reminds me of the choreography. Sometimes he wants to add little nuances to the choreography or to his costuming or something like that. So, he's been really into the creative process, which has been really fun. And we've been having fun, like trying different types of styles. As of right now, we've done a completely different style every single week. And that's been really fun.
Do you know what? I just want to say to all the hockey players out there, all the figure skaters out there, do you know what? Ice is ice. Get out there and have some fun. What's your final message to everybody, Megan?
I hope that they're watching the show. I hope that they're getting some enjoyment and inspiration out of the skating from everybody that's happening on the show. I know this is a really trying times in our world that everybody's going through, and if you can turn on the TV for a little bit and kind of escape that the outside world and be entertained, then we've done our jobs.
That's what this is all about. Blade this, or as Elodge likes to say, ball day this. I'm not really sure why. Anyway, Megan Duhamel, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. You are outstanding, a true champion. I wish you all the best on Battle of the Blades. For everybody else, make sure that you watch the show each and every week. This is our third to last week, and it's just been great. Talk to you soon.
Amazing. We love her.
We do love her. We do love her.
She's so great.
So
I think what's great about Megan also is that she has not only seen things from a judging perspective, skating perspective, but she's also a coach, not necessarily on Battle of the Blades, but it's kind of cool that she has that perspective all the way around. So getting back to hockey nights, Hunter, with everything that has happened, especially in the last 5 years that have gone so quickly for you, and obviously, you've hit this amazing goal for yourself, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you have learned from hockey?
Well, I think it probably came in my draft year, like to the NHL. So I was 18 years old at the time, and it was a terrible road game. I was a backup goalie, and well, no, I wasn't a backup goalie. So it was the year before. Restarting the story. Sorry. So I was 17 years old, and I was a backup goalie on the team, and it was my first year in the OHL, and I really had a really tough season, like coming into the OHL. I played 1 year in junior A prior to that as a 16-year-old, and then I made the jump to the OHL when I was 17. But anyway, back to the story. We were in Erie, Pennsylvania that night. It was the end of a 3-3, which means we have 3 games in 3 nights. So usually the starting goalie will play like Friday, Saturday, and then obviously myself, I'll get fed to the wolves on Sunday. And usually the guys are a little bit tired. So anyway, we're on a road trip, and we're in Erie, and it's a tight game. It's like, I want to say 4-3 or so, and then they pull me. We're trying to get the extra attacker on, and they score the open net 5-3 or whatever. There's like a minute and a half to go. So I go back in the net, face-off goes. They win the face-off, take it, regroup, come back into our end. They score. The place just erupts. It's like 6-3 now. So that's like, there's like probably a minute left now. It's probably like 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds to play. Face-off. Get it back, regroup, come down, score. Place is just losing their mind, and I'm just having a meltdown in net. 7-3. And so now another face-off happens. They regroup, back in, score again. So I'm just getting lit up in this last minute and a half, and I'm just having a really tough time. And then obviously, like, being a young kid at the time, I'm trying to make a good impression for myself, and I understand that next year is my draft year, and I want to be able to show the Petes that I'm going to be able to be a starting goalie for them. And this is near the end of the season, and it's not going well for me. And after the game, like, I was the last to leave the ice, and Erie fans are pretty tough fans to be in that arena, and I was getting like popcorn thrown at me, and like used pop bottles. I was like, man, this is just not a good time. And at the end of the game, I was just pretty emotional, and my dad was actually there on the road, and he came to watch that game because I didn't really play. I played only 15 games in that season. So whenever I was playing, he would try to always make it. And, we kind of had a little bit of like a tough love, like heart to heart after the game. And, he said to me one thing to me. He said, you can't, focus on everything at once. You can't stop all the pucks at once. It's one shift at a time, one shot at a time. And like, I've taken that and like, just like interpreted into a million different ways, and I use that to like every time I step on the ice now, whether like and like it might sound crazy, but me being a goalie, I don't really talk to many people on the bench. Like I'm never on the bench. I only go to the bench like once a period for like TV timeouts. But other than that, like I talk to myself like all the time. Like I'm in the net and I'm the only one there. So like if I'm feeling like anxious or if I'm feeling like I know the game is amping up and you're on the road and the fans and everything around you is kind of making you a little bit anxious and you're just like you got to calm yourself down and find a way to just like talk to yourself and just understand that, you know, one shot at a time, just take it easy. You can't stop all the pucks at once because once you start like doing that, I find that, you know, it gets downhill pretty quickly and it's hard to come out of that.
Great
I
advice.
absolutely love that.
Yeah,
Go
me
ahead.
too. Charlene, I was just going to say that we've just got a great comment, and that's from Linda Dupuis Pepin about so much pressure. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely my position. There's a lot of pressure put on my position, and I think that's you know, especially now moving into pro, it's you know, it's really easy for well, not really easy, but it's a little bit easier for like a forward or like a defenseman to get into the NHL lineup or a roster for a game because you know they can you know still play their top guys and then they can sneak you know that young guy out for a shift and let them feel the puck and you know get up to speed. But you know when we're in there like we're in there for 60 minutes the whole game, so like there's no like you know take a break. You had a good shift, like sit back, relax, watch the game, learn from the guys out there. Like no, like you're out there the entire time, and you're the last line of defense. And overall, like if someone gets beat, you know they're expecting you to you know bail them out, and that's a big part of our job. And I think that's now that you move into like the highest part of hockey, and especially as a goaltender, um, it's you know it's almost expected of you. Like you're supposed to be like kind of like the get out of jail free card for your guys. I mean the job is for them is to not make mistakes. And me, it's like when they do make mistakes, you know, I'm supposed to be the guy to be like, hey man, it's okay. Like I got you. It's okay.
Wow. Charlene, what were you going to say?
I was almost going to say, like, it's as much as you are that role for your team, I feel like it's very evident that your dad has very much been that for you. It's very clear you have a very special bond with your dad. And I think that transcends any sport, you know, whether it's our mom, our dad, our grandparents, our guardians of any nature. Those people that we really rely on when we're not on the ice are so, so important. What I was going to ask Ashley Hunter is, when you kind of mentioned that you weren't on the greatest teams, which I mean, it sounds like that was really an advantage to your career because, as you had mentioned, it allowed you to develop your craft. How do you think you are going to take that moving forward? So now you're maybe not on a team where you're getting all of this action in the net.
Mhm.
How will you take that experience moving forward into your new adventure in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think I'm just really excited overall. I mean, like you said, I think it was a little bit of an advantage for me because I got to see what type of adversity I had at such a young age and kind of go through that adversity and kind of feel what it's like to, you know, really be down in the dumps at one point and come out of it as well. So I mean, you know, I've been on good teams too. I've played for Canada multiple times, and they're unbelievable teams that those people put together. And you know, you go up against the best people in the world at those tournaments. And no, I'm really looking forward to whatever team I'm placed on. You know, I have a job to do, and those guys in front of me have a job to do, and we collectively all work as a team. And I think that's a big part of goaltending, and you know, especially with the defensemen on your team and the goalies, it's usually a really big unit. I mean, I know for a fact that this season playing for the Petes, we had two 20-year-old defensemen that we had one of the best penalty kills in the league this year. And every penalty kill, it was those two 20-year-old defensemen that were out beside me on my right and my left. And I was so confident in those guys whenever there was, you know, there was a one-time play or, you know, a quick shot to the net that they were going to do everything that they could to, you know, get some piece of body in front of it to help block that shot and make it like so much easier for me. And even if they didn't get there, I just appreciated like all the effort that they did. And that goes full around, like full circle for the entire team. And I think that like that builds from, you know, character and like how you are as a person too. I mean, guys don't want to do that for you if, you know, you're a crappy guy in the dressing room or stuff like that. So I think that's a lot of like, I could speak for hours on how much, of a team that we had in Peterborough this year and how much of a family I felt that we had. And, if you asked me today what I would do for, the guy sitting to my left and right in that dressing room, I could go on for hours about it.
You know what? I've got a great comment here from Hillary Tamblin. So we're going to talk international a little bit. For you to put on the jersey for the first time on the under 17 hockey challenge, what did that feel like? I mean, you start off as a little kid and then all of a sudden you're representing your country. It's got to be amazing. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was definitely surreal. I mean, something I'll never forget. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the program all the way up until last year with the World Juniors, and yeah, for the like, I'll say it like now, and I'll say it again. I mean, every time you put that jersey on, it feels like the first time. It's such an honor, um, you know, being surrounded by that atmosphere of players and um, just the skill level from all across Canada. You usually don't see guys that often from like the western side of Canada and even like Quebec. And then when you assemble that team, it's like, wow, this is the best of the best in Canada. And then, you're playing against the best of the best in America, and you're playing the best of the best in Sweden, Finland. Like, it's like you have all these hockey players from around the world that are representing their country, and you're just like battling it out. It's like, it's such a good mixture of like so much fun and so much competitiveness that I really enjoyed playing for Canada. And I know in my experience, my first game internationally was against the Czech Republic, and I had no idea what to expect. And I had a blast, and I've learned from that ever since. And last summer I was able to play against the Americans in Sweden, and yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, I got my jerseys hanging up downstairs right beside my TV. My dad put them up in frames, so I mean, I get to look at them whenever I'm playing video games or whatever.
It must bring back such amazing memories. When you are thinking about favorite hockey games, I mean, Charlie and I can probably name 4 or 5 performances in figure skating right off the top that just sort of stay in the old noggin up here. Are
Yeah.
there favorite games that you could watch over and over again?
I mean, hands down, I could watch my Canada Russia game. Maybe not my first Canada Russia game. The first like 30 seconds of that game, I let in like a dump in like from just outside the blue line, and it was not my finest moment, but I came back strong after that. But definitely a great game for me was my first game as a starting goalie at home. It was the home opener. It was my first time playing in a home opener, and there was a packed building in Peterborough, great atmosphere, and I
That's
ended
a
up getting
great
my
building
first.
too. I love that building.
Yeah, I ended up getting my first OHL shutout that night. So it was a
Wow.
big emotional night. Like, just like very proud of myself that night, and definitely made a Dairy Queen run after the game.
What about watching? Like, is there any kind of like, can you watch, for people in my generation, we were all stuck in school cafeterias when we were little kids, and it was the 1972, Canada-Russia hockey series,
Right.
and we all remember it, like as little wee kids. So for you, was it, and I remember I was coming home from the Olympics in 2010, and as I was flying home, that's when the men's hockey game was happening. And it's the only time that apparently Air Canada delayed flights because they could because people were watching the game. Like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. But I remember hearing the score as I'm flying across the country to come back. I was working at that event. So for you, what are some hockey memories? Maybe watching with your dad that just bring a smile to your face.
Yeah, I think like there's a whole bunch. I mean, for me personally, I think it would just be like going to the live games, and like I just remember like being so young and getting random tickets from like a friend of mine, and my dad be like, "Oh, we're going to the Buffalo Sabres game tonight." I'm like, "Sweet!" Like, I'll make that hour drive. Like, we're gonna cross the border, get some popcorn, like just like the cool kid moment. And like even like just going, like I said before, like going to the junior games, like that. I always liked that like atmosphere of being in the building. And like for me, like as a kid, like I was never like too even now, like I don't watch too much hockey on TV. Like I'll watch the Leafs play. I always cheer for the Leafs growing up, because obviously being from Brantford, I was wanted to go to the Leafs game and stuff like that. And um but yeah, I mean, like I always loved going to like the live games. And um just a different atmosphere when you're there, and that's what makes it like so crazy right now with everything that's going on in the world, is that there's no fans in the building. It's like, man, this is like weird.
It is weird. It is weird. There was a skating competition recently where it was an international event in the United States, but it was all American skaters because nobody could travel yet. And they had cardboard cutouts of fans in the
The
seats in order to
fans.
simulate it.
And
Yeah.
dogs and pets.
I know.
Professional baseball is doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even at Battle of the Blades, they've got these huge screens with kind of a virtual audience of people in different pockets of the country. It's just the coolest.
Yeah.
So I want to speak about cool for just a second. I got a chance to catch up with Jennifer Bottarell. She let me call her Bots. I was so excited because that's her nickname. I felt like I was one of the cool kids a little bit earlier today.
Nice.
Jennifer, for people who don't know, is a three-time Olympic gold medalist, 2002, 2006, 2010, and an Olympic silver medalist in 1998. I mean, she's just unbelievable, and definitely somebody who is an inspiration to girls for getting into hockey. Really, anybody, I think. So I got a chance to catch up with her. Spoiler alert: if you're in the western part of Canada and you haven't seen the show yet, you may want to just go get a drink of water right now. Won't take long.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. Andrew, you're in my time zone. You've seen this. I know you have.
Yeah.
Here we go. Did I do it? Yes.
Yes.
Go team. Guess what, everybody? It's at Skating PJ. I am so excited because, as you know, Blade, this is our hockey week. So we have Hunter Jones, the goalie, who, of course, is with us. And then we've got this next guest, who is a three-time Olympic champion and one-time Olympic silver medalist. And I am a huge fan. Jennifer Bottarell, thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's nice to connect. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Can I call you Bots?
Absolutely. That's my nickname. Go for it.
Listen, I'm out of control. I have a couple of questions for you. The first one is I want to talk about your posture. Your posture is sensational for a hockey player turned figure skater. So I don't know who was telling you to stand up straight your whole life, but you can probably thank your mother.
Yes.
I want to know your transition from you're at home in your hockey skates as I am in my figure skates. I don't know that at this age and stage I could transition to hockey skates without there being a lot of falling down. How did you find the transition to figure skates?
Well, I would say it was an adventure every day. And for the first couple of weeks were a little rough. There's no question. I had a few toe picks, and it happens quicker than I ever could have imagined in terms of you think you've got your stride and the movement and you're down. It happens so quickly. But I also feel like I learned so much. So in terms of my improvement from the first day I put on those figure skates and my kids were out with me and they were laughing because I looked so uncomfortable. But within a few weeks, I started to get a little more confident with great teamwork and great coaching. I feel super proud of how much I have learned in a short amount of time.
You should be proud of it because, as I said, I have been giving the hockey players props this whole way through because I'm sure I couldn't do a hockey, game part in this short amount of time on hockey skates that you guys have really come up to scratch in figure skating. So hats off, my friend, or gloves off, as we like to say in the hockey world.
Thank you.
I'm out of control. Listen, so your journey on Battle of the Blades ends tonight. I had great hopes for you and Eric. Tell me what this journey on Battle of the Blades has meant to you. What's it been like?
Yeah, you know what? It's been a privilege to have this experience. And, I have certainly expressed my huge gratitude to Eric, to our choreographer, Renee, who were just amazing to work with every day. And we had a nice little team meeting and we sort of were debriefing. And for me, they both far exceeded any expectations that I had going into this. And every day we smiled, and it was a lot of hard work and it was demanding at times. But from day one, when we first met in training camp and we were trying lifts on the first day, and in terms of footwork and twizzles and you name it, I never could have envisioned us accomplishing what we did. And I mean, I'll be honest, I'm disappointed. It wasn't the ending that we had envisioned as a team. But for us to skate every day, to have the meaning and the privilege to skate for the Canadian Cancer Society, just brought so much purpose for our team every time we hit the ice. So I look back and I'm so thankful for this journey.
Was there a particular connection to the Canadian Cancer Society that made you want to support that organization?
Yes, very much so. And both Eric and I had personal connections, and we wanted to decide on a charity that was meaningful for both of us. And so for me, I lost both my grandfathers to cancer. My mother-in-law, my grandmother are both breast cancer survivors. My brother and I both lost dear friends from university who were in their 30s with young families and passed away from cancer. I have some great family friends who had daughters in their teenage years who fought through cancer. So there are a number of close personal connections that, again, just brought such meaning to this journey for me and for Eric as well.
You know, you are an inspiration to Canadians everywhere. You're an inspiration to girls who would like to grow up and become women hockey players. And just overall, you are a Canadian treasure. Jennifer Bottarell, thank you so much for joining me. You are just an outstanding example of what it's like to be Canadian. And I couldn't be more excited to call you Bots, my brand new friend. Yeah. Because I'm on a So Hunter, while we were doing this in our private chat area, Charlene very kindly said, could you please move the giant honking, here we go, blade live so we're not chopping your head off. So we did that. So now we can see all of you.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Vampire jewelry right now. I feel like he's got this smoldery vampire thing going on. It's working.
I like it. I like it. Okay, who's your favorite hockey player and why?
My favorite hockey player?
Yeah, of all time.
Of all time. Oh, probably like
one of them. We'll say one of them.
Okay, probably like Patrick Waugh. I watched a lot of Patrick Waugh when I was growing up. He used to be play for the Canadians, and now I think he's with Colorado, maybe. I don't know. I have to fact check that.
I have a very funny story that I cannot share on here because it has a bad word, but stay once we finish the broadcast and I'll tell you a story that will make you smile. Charlene, who's your favorite hockey player?
Oh my gosh. I was worried you were going to put me on the spot like this. Honestly, I'm going to have to, you know what? I've actually, he's a very nice man. I'm going to have to go with like a Becky Keller or a Jen Botts. So I actually met Jen Botts when I was little. PJ, you know about this. So I was the outlier in my family, and everyone else played hockey and baseball. I played baseball, but I was the outlier. Everyone else played hockey. So there's a little baby shower in the middle. My sister was at hockey camps and met all these like amazing hockey babes. So I kind of like tagged along, and I would say she's one of my favorites. She was just so nice. And I think that's the thing about this Hunter character over here. Nice human beings make you want to like them and cheer for them. And it's not just like an underdog story that people like. We like nice humans. So that would be why.
And you know what? I meant to show that shot because I call this shot transformation, because that's Charlene now on the left. That's little Charlene in the pink shirt with Jennifer Bottaro in the middle. And then that's Jennifer on the right with Eric Radford. Look at that. I mean, it's just so much
real.
I do.
Yep.
And you know what? I just know, Hunter Jones, when you end up at the Minnesota Wild, because you're a Minnesota Wild prospect, not a tame prospect, a wild prospect. See how I did that again?
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm going to start watching the Minnesota Wild. And I'm going to say, I knew him when. And then when you're all finished your hockey career, you're going to end up on Battle of the Blades, and I'll still be talking to you.
Yeah, honestly, I'd like to see that.
I would like to see that too. But I think you've got some goalkeeping to take between now and then with Minnesota. So when do you go there?
I mean, it's pretty tricky to say right now. I think they're in meetings. I know they were in meetings all week kind of figuring out this season. I mean, it's been really tough for them to kind of figure everything out because there's so many teams all over the States, and especially the Canadian teams too. And there's got to be like, there's always got to be conversations about, so many things, whether it's fans, finances, and then like border travel, and, obviously everybody's staying safe at the same time. Right. So, they did a really good job of it in the playoffs, with no cases there. So I think they're going to try and get like some sort of bubble going, whether if it's like for a couple weeks at a time, and then you can go see your family or whatever for the guys that obviously have families. But it's going to be difficult for sure. So I'm not really sure when, I'm going to get the call, but I mean, I've been training since, like June. So like, it's been a long off season for me to be ready for this, but I'm definitely ready to start playing again. That's for sure.
Well, you know what? Charlene and I are so excited that you were able to join us tonight on our Battle This Hockey Week. I want to thank my pals at the Peterborough Pete's. Don't forget, Thursday night live at 6 p.m. on the Peterborough Pete's Facebook page. You're going to want to be there. All the giveaways, all the fun. Pre-register for a chance to win a pre-worn jersey. That's very hard to say. Is that a
Yeah, it's a
pre-worn
tongue
jersey,
twister.
Charlie? Pardon me? That's a tongue twister.
My brother wore it, I think, but that's it. Because no one important wore this jersey other than my brother, who is super important.
That is outstanding. Okay, everybody, I'd love you to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that we can keep the lights on there at YouTube. That's just a dramatic way of saying, please subscribe to me. Follow me on Facebook. Follow Charlene as well. I want to thank my pals at Wooden Panda for helping me out because they are unbelievable. And then if you want more figure skating, you can always go to that figure skating show with, did you happen to notice Asher Hill tonight on the left? He's skating in Battle of the Blades right now. And Dylan Moskovich on the right is one of the coaches at Battle of the Blades. And they have that figure skating show on the CBC Sports YouTube channel. I think I pretty much said everything to everybody. So now it's just a quick question of you guys joining us again next Thursday. We are going to have Canadian champion and world silver medalist Gabrielle Daleman, who's going to join us next week. And then on our very last week, which is 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a dress-up session with coaches Carol Lane and Mazen Thomas. I'm going to try and get Dylan to come back and talk to us. And who knows, we are in the works with talking with a bunch of other people. So you guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for all your support, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.